is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Surprise! Today is a mini episode discussing Finding Mr. Christmas, episode 1.
We'll see how many it is. I got a lot to say.
Oh! As you may know, this wasn't originally on our schedule, but we watched it and decided we absolutely could not let this show go without discussing.
Yes.
If you are unfamiliar with the premise of the show, it is exclusively on Hallmark Plus, and I'm going to read a quick synopsis, which is 10 men compete in a series of festive challenges that will showcase their acting chops and their holiday spirit. Jonathan Bennett hosts, while these lovable guys vie to become the next Hallmark leading man. The winner of this show is the star of Happy Holidays, one of the last Countdown to Christmas movies to premiere. So that has already been shot, of course. Why don't we do a real quick rundown of the 10 dudes?
Okay. Can you give me in the rundown, can you give me your first impression? Like, you like him, you don't like him?
Sure.
Because I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts, Megan.
Okay. I'm going to start with Blake.
Yeah.
Blake is a 36-year-old sales manager from Beaumont, Texas. Blake gives me Baby Wes Brown vibes. I am
interesting.
a big fan of Blake because he seems like so soft-spoken. I was like, oh, Blake, you're going to get steamrolled. And then as we saw in the first 2 episodes, I was like, oh, Blake is here to play.
Yeah, I got to say, Blake was not a favorite of mine coming into the show just based on the information we had. But he's a smooth talker. When he told Melissa Peterman, don't stand too close to my fire because sugar melts, I almost died. I'm into Blake. Next is Daxton. He's a 36-year-old actor from Los Angeles. Broadway alert. He also was in the Book of Mormon.
What's your first impression of Daxton?
You know, it makes me uncomfortable when people are very a lot. But there was a scene here in this episode where they're modeling their sweaters. We're going to talk about it. And I broke down in tears when Daxton has this exchange with Jonathan Bennett about being too much. And you're never too much.
100% I'm on the same page. When he came in, though, he's like, I'm going to play it real quiet. And I got nervous. Like, at first I was like, uh-oh, is Daxton giving the I'm not here to make friends energy of the classic Bachelor? But my opinion of him very quickly changed.
Yes, me too.
Next up, we have David, who's a 29-year-old aerospace engineer from Vancouver, British Columbia. You know, he's a freaking rocket scientist.
Really?
Yes. He did say he's done a little acting. I have to tell you that David is one of the dudes who is not making a particularly strong impression for me right out of the gate. Not a negative impression, but he needs to do more to stand out.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. Next up is Elijah, a 31-year-old theater actor who drops a complete bomb in this episode where he says he's been on Hamilton for 5 years. And I'm telling you, the looks on the other contestants' faces when he says this were like, oh, shit. We are in trouble.
We're cooked.
I love Elijah. Plus, I love the backstory that he has a baby girl on the way. I love Elijah.
Elijah is so charming. He's so fun. He's got this great smile. I really enjoyed him. And what I loved is in his early introductions, one of the guys was like, oh, you look like you might be musical. And he's like, I do a little singing and rapping. And I was like, and then we get the reveal that he was on tour with Hamilton, a little singing and acting. He's just a humble king.
He played Philip and John Lorenz, I think.
I know.
That's a big ass role. I've never seen Hamilton.
Next up, we have Ezra, 31-year-old model from San Diego, California. He is also a former Navy rescue diver. Ezra, I put a star next to him as I was watching. He was my early front runner. I was like, if I had to call it with the first, just the intros, I was like, oh, that's who I pick based on introductions alone.
So Ezra's, like the Hallmarkified photo they use for Ezra's like headshot, he's wearing, it's not a great photo. And Ezra is a model, but I agree with you. When he came in, I was like, oh, I like Ezra. I like Ezra a lot. Yes, yes. However, Ezra said something at one point in this episode where he's talking about how his grandma is a walking Hallmark movie and how he would be so proud if he would be in a Hallmark movie. And I was like, bro, Hallmark is more than just your grandma's movies she's watching. Like, I hope that's not his mindset.
Uh-huh. I hear you.
Next up is Gage, a 29-year-old marketing consultant from LA, though says he's been acting since the 4th grade. This guy, Megan and I used to talk about Big Brother a lot. This guy's coming in too hard, too fast. He needs to dial it back.
Gage gave me baby Kevin McGarry energy. I cannot unsee it. I'm looking at
Same hair.
Same hair.
Definitely.
These guys are playing a game. Like, it is a delicate balance because you want to be noticeable, you want to be noticed, but you don't want to overpower the scene.
Yes, exactly.
All right, next up we have Hayden, 30-year-old children's entertainer from Los Angeles, California, originally from Australia. I adore Hayden. First episode, really into him. Just the sweetest little sweetheart.
Yeah. Look, Hayden, real easy on the eyes, and an Australian accent is doing it for me. However, when I hear like your occupation is children's entertainer, I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah, like, are you in the Wiggles?
Yeah, like what's happening there? I don't know.
Maybe he dresses up as like Kristoff. Maybe he's one of those like rent a prince for a birthday party. You know,
I could see that. Yeah. Next is 28-year-old firefighter Isaac. Isaac is heavily featured in this episode. On looks alone, Isaac, I was super into Isaac. And then when I got to see Isaac in real life, I was like, no, I'm not into Isaac anymore.
Isaac's acting
is terrible, guys.
I was like, oh, you've never watched a Hallmark movie.
So bad.
Jonathan Wells is a 27-year-old entrepreneur. He is also a former track star from Chicago. He is a self-proclaimed mama's boy. I'm liking Jonathan.
Jonathan has the greatest smile, and he has the Michael Strahan little smile, which I'm really into. And when he was in his acting scene with Erin Cahill, there was like a really warm look he gave her and the smile, and I just was like, I melted. Ooh. I love Jonathan.
Okay.
Our final guy is Parker, 39-year-old model from Texas, dad to an 8-year-old. And I gotta say, hello, Zaddy.
Total Zaddy.
I have a soft spot for him because he is the oldest dude in the group. And
totally.
Isaac called him out on it. And I was like, yuck, gross. I don't like that. But
yeah, at 39, he's an old man.
Yeah, which, you know, a lot of this age talk has been going on a lot. So
he's super hot, and I like the way he talks about his son. They showed a lot of real cute pictures and making fun holiday memories with his son. The format of the show is we have 2 competitions. We have the Festive Face-Off competition, which is really just for fun, and the winners of that get an advantage in the actual acting challenge that we get. So in this episode, the Festive Face-Off is a DIY ugly sweater. And this is the point at which we also meet Judge Melissa Peterman, who will participate throughout the entire series.
She's freaking great.
I adore her. Yeah.
I adore her.
Great casting. Her and Jonathan are so good. I really am loving this show. The first 2 episodes we've seen, giving us the opportunity. I feel like we're seeing a different side of these actors. We get Erin Cahill, we get Tyler Hines. Just seeing the way they interact, not on screen in a scripted moment, is really working for me.
It's really nice. I agree. I thought watching Jonathan Bennett and Melissa Peterman behind the camera as the guys are working through their scenes in the second challenge of the show was so fun to watch. Mm-hmm. The little peek behind the scenes of how the sausage is made, you know, I loved that. I loved it. But what I didn't like in this Festive Face-Off is if anybody watches Top Chef, and this is probably just a Wendy issue, but in Top Chef, it's kind of the same format. They have 2 challenges. They have this like first part of the challenge where where somebody gains an advantage, right? And in that challenge, they always like have this like small talk between the contestants, like, "Hey man, what are you doing? Hey man, what are you working on?" And they did it in this too. And I'm like, I hate that part of it. Cut the chit chat. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. But they have to do it. I hate it. And
they're teeing it up so they can give us more information about themselves in these action shot moments that would otherwise be fairly boring to watch. I have a couple standout moments if you want to do that.
Of the face-off?
Yeah. Look, you mentioned it. We have the highlight is Daxton in his sweater. He identifies as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And Jonathan chokes up and looks him in the eye and makes all of us cry, saying, "You are never too much. You are always enough." Now, I want to tell you, I heard Jonathan Bennett on the Jeff Lewis Live radio show this week, and they were discussing the Finding Mr. Christmas competition, and they were discussing everything Jonathan Bennett is doing, particularly with Hallmark. And we've talked about like, yay, Jonathan Bennett, but like, give us more. Cast a wider net. But one thing I loved is that in that interview, he was like, I'm getting all these opportunities to be like the first on-screen same-sex kiss on Hallmark, the first on-screen same-sex marriage on Hallmark. Like, I'm telling all of these stories, the same first on-screen like lead gay couple on Hallmark, right? He's like, I want to open the door for other people to walk through. And remembering that line and then seeing this moment, I just felt like it was full circle.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that is like Jonathan Bennett can't be that guy all the time for the network, you know?
Right. Yes.
You need the wider net. I'm so in love with Jonathan Bennett right now.
We're going to make him our bestie. Is that your goal?
Love what he's
next
doing.
week.
Oh my God. Yes, I need to be his best friend. Well, in this scene, or not in this scene, but in this challenge during the Festive Face-Off challenge, it was also the 1-2 punch. We get Hayden, who explains that he has recently lost custody of his sweet dog Archie because of a divorce. And I'm telling you, I'm crying my eyes out watching this.
Me too.
Crying my eyes out. I'm like, what is wrong with you, Wendy?
Oh, I absolutely cried too about Hayden's story. And I loved that after the competition, Daxton and Hayden have a real nice moment connecting over dogs. Yeah. I mean, more than just the dogs, but it was nice. I think the camaraderie we get among the dudes it's just heartwarming. I mean, this is the content you want to watch during the holidays.
Yeah, it is. However, I do see it. I was like, how are they going? You need a villain in a reality TV. I can see what they're doing here because I've watched so much freaking reality TV. Like, I see who our villains are.
Who do you think of the villains?
Oh, who do I think of the villains? Gage is a villain. That guy, he wants it, so he's too hungry for it, and I feel like he's going to. And when I say villain, I mean villain light, villain Hallmark light. Like, we're not talking like. You know, but it's with every reality TV show. You need someone who people don't really like that much, but is like stirring the pot, is causing the trauma, is being talked about. So it just makes for good TV. So that's what I think is happening here.
Do you have any more standout moments from the competition before we discuss the winner?
Nope. I think except for David's really sad like bat sweater. I don't know what was happening there.
Yeah, his wings, because he's an aerospace engineer. I was like,
yeah. And I gotta tell you, 30 minutes to make a sweater, I would crumble in that. I have to think about these things. I can't just go.
I know, I'm sweating for them. Isaac is declared the winner because he includes the most personal elements in his sweater. I mean, did he? I'm not saying he didn't. He showed like that he's a firefighter and he's one of 8. They really connected with Isaac in this moment. And he will get an advantage in the Star Quality Challenge. In the Star Quality Challenge, we're joined by actress Erin Cahill. The men are going to be in a 2-on-1 scene where their challenge is to try to pull focus. They're like trying to get the attention of the leading lady. Isaac is allowed to choose the pairings and the order, and that is his advantage.
That's a good advantage. And he played it right because he ended up choosing himself and somebody else to go last, which is so smart because you want to see what everybody else does first. Actually, I don't know. Now saying that out loud, sometimes like the advantage is like if you're confident in what you're doing, then you go first. Because me personally, I would get in my head watching everybody else go, and then I would overthink my turn, you know? I got to tell you, watching this Star Challenge competition, I was not made to be an actor because the secondhand kind of like embarrassment and like awkwardness I felt while watching it. Like I can't just go out there and play and like be somebody else and like really lean into something. I can't do that. So bravo to people who can, because it's not for me.
You know, I fully agree. It's not for me either. And I was expecting some seriously cringeworthy moments in this scene. I was like, oh, acting these scenes, this is going to be the worst part of the show. I actually found it to be quite charming, especially when it was done really well. And I think this show is really tightly edited, so we're not spending too long on any one scene. And they edited the scene so we weren't seeing exactly the same moments of every scene. And I thought it was very fun to watch.
Agree.
Are we ready for the crowning winner?
Sure.
We get this like real dramatic winner-loser ceremony.
The elimination ceremony.
Yeah.
Winner and loser ceremony.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they don't tell us at the end of this star quality challenge like who's done the best.
No, the judges need to go deliberate, and then they need their rose ceremony moment.
Yes, you're right.
So they start with crowning the shining star, and it's Hayden.
It's Hayden. It was that bow toss over the shoulder that did it.
So great. Yeah, thinking on your feet.
He was really good. He was so good. And there were others who were really good as well. I thought Hayden obviously was really good, and like I said, there were others, but there were some that were not so good.
There were some that struggled. They call out two. Isaac and Parker are the two who are in danger of going home. They said Parker didn't fight enough for Aaron's attention. And I think Parker was at a disadvantage because he went first. So he didn't get to see like how the other guys were kind of like stepping all over each other's lines to get in there. And he didn't take the initiative to do that. And they felt like Isaac was too nervous. Now I have a different take here.
Oh, please go ahead.
Isaac didn't strike me as nervous. Isaac just struck me as making all of the wrong acting choices. When they were rehearsing, he had this real like, sorry if I'm not very good at this, slow delivery. And Blake was like, I'm going to go rehearse outside, man. And I just could tell poor Blake seems like the nicest guy, but was definitely not thrilled about his matchup.
He was not vibing with Isaac at all. No.
I wanted Blake to be like, yo, bro, pick up the pace. Like, this is supposed to be like, it's a Hallmark movie. It's a lighthearted moment. This is not Showtime. I don't know. What are you doing here?
Well, Isaac couldn't even remember the lines either. And there were some like improv, definitely. But Isaac was like completely blank on his face. And he's like, he says at one point when he's doing his scene and they're talking about making wreaths. And he's like, I have to brainstorm. I was like, what the F are you talking about? Like, that doesn't even work with the scene. Like, he completely struggled.
I think they made the right choice here, and Isaac goes home. When they are eliminated, Jonathan says to them, it's time to take your stocking down and go home for the holidays. And it just makes me laugh.
I've watched a lot of reality TV, and this Isaac taking down his stocking from the mantle is very much like packing up your knives on Top Chef or taking your luggage on Top Model. Like, it's like, get out of here. But it's great. It's great. It's working. I love the formula of it. I love the heart behind it. I really enjoy this stupid show.
I do too.
Because look at, guys, Megan earlier in the week was like, I think we should review Finding Mr. Christmas. And I was like, I don't have that. I can't do it. And then I'm watching it yesterday. I'm like, yep, we should do it. We should definitely be talking about this show. It's so good.
As we've mentioned once or twice, we are headed out on the Hallmark Christmas Cruise next week, but we do plan to review every episode. So keep an eye on your podcast player. Follow us on Instagram to make sure you never miss an announcement. We hope you're loving this show. And as a reminder, we've mentioned it once, twice, 1,000 times. You can get Hallmark Plus for free. So please click through to our show notes for information on how to use your library card to stream Hallmark Plus. We will see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.